Hey there, Atheist Morph here. I heard that Bob actually watched the first couple of seconds of one of my videos about him. Bob, please stay with us just for a bit. I promise you, this one, I'm going to try and make it more interesting for you, even though I'm not going to just be talking about how God is great and the Bible's correct about everything and all that sort of stuff. You know, the sort of stuff that you hear from your echo chamber. So the first thing I want to look at in this one is this tweet from Bob about how humble he is. He's a very, very humble person apparently and doesn't want to be talked about in front of millions of people on YouTube. Well, I really wish, Bob, that millions of people were watching my videos because then I could probably give up my day job and do this full time. In your second tweet here, you say 63 atheists. Well, frankly, I'd be pleased with that because at the time of speaking, I've only got 18 subscribers. So I'd really go for 63 and wouldn't even worry about the ambition of having millions. I think at this point, although I don't actually have my response, I said something to Bob like, well, theism isn't generally a position of humility. I mean, don't you think that your God has a special relationship that he wants just with you? So he created this vast universe, and we'll come back to that in a second, but it's all about you and your fellow Christians. That doesn't seem like a very humble position to me, as pointed out in this tweet here, about how the creation story is very geocentric. Bob then downrates me even further and says nobody's going to watch my video. So in the space of 3 tweets, we've gone from millions are going to watch it, 63 are going to watch it, and now we're down to 0. Come on, Bob. Am I going to have a negative number of viewers next? So let's talk about, just for a moment, how humble your views actually are. Do you have any idea of the size of our Milky Way galaxy? Our galaxy, the galaxy that our solar system is in, is reckoned to be about 53,000 light years across. That means that light takes 53,000 years to travel from one edge to the other. Just for reference, the speed of light is such that light could go around the circumference of the Earth. Of course, it wouldn't go around in a circle, but the distance of the circumference of the Earth 7.5 times in 1 second. Do the math and you'll have some good idea of how big our Milky Way galaxy actually is. And our galaxy is just one of an estimated 100 million galaxies. This is vast amounts of space. But the creator of all of this vast amounts of space, all these stars, planets, black holes, quasars, all sorts of stuff, has done it all because he wants a special relationship with you, Bob. That's a really humble position that you have. And while we're dealing with this humility that you display all the time, how many times have you had it pointed out to you on Twitter that you're using a particular logical fallacy? Have you even bothered looking them up? The logical fallacies, or at least 13 of them, were first outlined by Aristotle. I think you might just think that Aristotle was perhaps just a touch cleverer than you are. And many philosophers and great minds have added to these logical fallacies over the years. So when you have it pointed out to you that you're using a logical fallacy, it doesn't seem to faze you at all. Fallacy schmallacy. You're not worried about the fact that some of the smartest people around have said what logical fallacies are, and then you demonstrably are using them. It doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to put a hole in your case at all. That's really humble. And while we're at it, you don't accept lots of science. I haven't been able actually to nail you on this, but I'm pretty sure from what you say that you don't accept the theory of evolution. Some of the smartest people alive over the last 150 years have worked on evolution. and everybody's confirmed it. There may be little niggles about what's the most important factor in evolution, but no scientists working in the area deny evolution as a fact. But you do, Bob, because you're so humble that you know better than all of these great scientific minds. Well, I hope you're still listening, Bob, because as you admitted in this tweet here, you only listened to a few seconds of my last video. You might actually learn something if you watch a bit more of it. And you might actually be able to come up with a decent argument against my points. I mean, I doubt it, but you might be able to. For example, this was a tweet that you sent back. It seems to be the only objection you had to anything I said. The fact that I wear the morph suit. Have you invented a new logical fallacy? Is this argumentum ad morphsutium? Anything I say must be invalid because I'm wearing a morph suit? Well, let's try that one out, shall we? Now, I'm just going to nip out of here. Sorry I'm out of sight, but of course the morph suit was boring to you anyway. But let's have a check. Here I've got a pen, and here I've got another pen, and if I put them together, I've got two pens. Now, I'll have to watch this back later to make sure that's actually true, but I think I do have two pens here. So it seems that wearing the morph suit, I can still say things that are true. Let's try again. 12 squared is 144. The indefinite integral of 1 over x is the natural log of x plus an arbitrary constant. I seem to be able to say true things while wearing the morph suit. So it seems that you haven't invented a new logical fallacy. How humble of you to think that you had. Now, I love this one. Apparently, a lot of us are saying things that just aren't true, according to Bob. Well, Bob, maybe we define true differently. I don't use the word true as in concordant with what your ancient book tells you. I use the word true as in concordant with known facts. And I never ever hold anything to be 100% true. There's always a margin for error, but I give things the credence they deserve based on the evidence provided for them, which is why I think it's highly likely that evolution is true. But I don't hold that like in a religious sort of way, like you hold your ideas. If somebody actually falsified evolution tomorrow, then I'd drop it like a hot potato. But bear in mind that that wouldn't make your creation myth true. Falsifying evolution doesn't make creation true. Do you understand that? All it would mean is that we no longer have a working theory of biodiversity. The second thing in this tweet, though, which I really like, is your accusation of bigotry. Can I just ask you, who is most likely to be anti-gay, to want to end marriage equality or oppose it if it's not yet been voted on? We had lots of people opposing marriage equality here in Australia in 2017 when we voted on it. And do you know what most of their motivations were? Most of their motivations were religious. We even had a former Prime Minister, Tony Abbott, who wouldn't go to his own sister's same-sex marriage. And that was on the basis of his religion. You cannot tell me that the most bigotry that we see out there in the real world is not religiously motivated. And while I'm on this, let's just look at all of these verses where God tells us about the sorts of people we should kill. Now, he doesn't seem to realize, the creator of the universe, that witches don't exist, for example. However, there is a direct commandment to kill men who sleep with other men. And this is the source of the sort of religious bigotry that I'm talking about here, Bob. This is where it all comes from. Do you not see the harm that your Bible does? Just imagine for a moment that that God doesn't exist. Are you being bigoted towards people in the LGBTQI community, or just other people like you and I, just on this planet trying to get by and do their own thing? And you're making it harder for them by thinking that they should not have equal rights to the rest of us. Really? And since I don't want to make this video really long, I'm just going to finish with this. Not because it's anything to do with you, Bob, but just because it made me laugh. But if this book actually existed, I bet you've read it.